Tuesday, 20th of June 2023, another day to be intentional about what it is you're doing and what it is that you intend to do. Good morning, Uganda. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Once again, thank you so much for joining us as early as now. Speaking of intentional, I love the kind of path we seem to be taking as a country, especially when it comes to the economy. It's no wonder the permanent secretary of the government, rather of the Ministry of Finance, that is, of course, Kolobi, coming out to say that, you know what, in the next financial year, we want to be very, very, very intentional when it comes to managing our finances. And because of this, we are freezing all salary enhancements in different sectors. We want to cut all these supplementary budgets, and we want to draw more focus on growing our domestic revenue, okay? We don't want to focus on other things. Clearly, if that doesn't spell out intentional, then I don't know what does. Well, I hope we can all borrow a leaf from this ministry and probably even put that into our personal lives. How are you managing your monies this financial year? Away from the budget, really, as an individual, how are you managing your finances? You and your entire household. Do you fit in this strategy? Or maybe you are being excluded. Well, what are you going to cut and what are you going to really put at the front? My name is Philomena, and of course I am joined by the entire Good Morning Uganda crew. Well, Robert, Felix and Mollen join me this morning. Robert, good morning. I don't know if you have thought about managing your personal budget this year, 2023-2024, and I would really love to know how you're planning to do that. How are you?
Oh, I'm very fine. How are you?
Lovely.
Good. And of course, good morning to our lovely viewers who have woken up this morning. Well, today I feel like I want to get hold of Mollen and squeeze her like something. You know how they make orange juice? How you squeeze? Because I don't understand. This rain, why it's coming in such a month where we don't expect rain. So anytime from now, if you hear her making noise, no, I'm working on her because I'm like, well, the March to May rains must be done.
Yes.
Now I shouldn't have inconveniences with anything gotten to do with the rains. So anytime you hear any noise, please be patient. I'm working on her.
I was starting to wonder what's going on.
No, I'm working on her. And then she'll take that and the same pain she'll transfer it to the concerned parties. But Gobi Ramadan was very spot on. I think the only thing you forgot to emphasize was the fight against corruption. Because the thieves we have in this country will steal anything that is available. We've ever seen them even steal iron sheets. They've ever stolen buckets. They've ever stolen blankets. Then what about money? So, our dear Secretary to the Treasury, what is very important is what have you done to ensure that the little or these efforts are not ruined by corrupt officials? There is so much corruption that even someone would steal 10,000, yet an official. So I think whatever we are going to do, either we don't increase salaries, we try to boost local production and everything. If we do not come out and stop talking about corruption, but fight corruption, we may not get where we want to go. And that he knows very well. I pray we find also more measures to handle that. But he also talked about something that disturbed my mind, where he said SMEs have failed to absorb money that government puts as stimuli packages. Now that is a danger. That these small, medium enterprises, even when government puts money for them to go and borrow, they don't access this money because they're not credit worthy. What does that mean? Because they do not qualify. They don't have proper books, they don't have proper records, addresses, such things. As a person will complain, my restaurant was affected during COVID, but they can't get They can't get money. And I found that a very big problem because last financial, I think there's about 100 billion. But these people failed to absorb this money.
Yet small, medium enterprises?
Yes, yet some even ended business. Yet the money they needed, government had put it there at a very low interest. The good news I've heard, he says they're working on loans for commercial farmers, those that are creditworthy, those that can go to the bank and get a loan. The only challenge they find is high interest rate, where government will be paying the interest rate for them. But by and large, that issue of SMEs is a very strong issue that we must find a solution to, and the issue of corruption.
I mean, of course, SMEs are quite the businesses that are being taken on by the youth, which again is the biggest population that we have in Uganda. If you took time to listen to some of their rants and their vents and ventings and talking about what exactly is frustrating them, they will tell you lack of capital to, you know, put back into their businesses or even to fund their businesses. So I guess when opportunities like this avail themselves, there should be a way of them tapping into, as opposed to being a business briefcase. What do they call them? The
briefcase businesses.
Yes,
is him and him.
So there is definitely a lot of effort that needs to be put into that. Well, Mollen, good morning.
Well, a very good morning to you, and good morning to our family out there. Well, I'll probably speak to the Ugandans that don't even have the money to budget for this financial year. While we are
still talking about managing our personal finances.
Parish development model is coming.
There's someone who is like, you people have finances to even budget for. Yeah, so I think there are people out there that are still wondering how they can benefit from what has been allocated of this financial year's budget. But again, talking about initiatives by government, I think PDM is there, IMIOGA is there, but how easy is it for people to access that? I think it's going to have to take someone really going for it, like go ask from many district officials, ask them where you can benefit. Because at this point, if you're seated at home and waiting that there is going to be some kind of drive saying, hello, you know, there are people giving out PDM money at the parish, that might not happen. So you might have to yourself go up to these offices and ask for the process, because it's not clear. Not everyone is aware of how this money is being distributed, even for the districts that have already received this. So it takes you going there, and maybe also contact your LC2, LC3, whatever level. Even the chairman LC ones could be aware, so you get that information from them. Otherwise, Kirabo was here talking about dates. So one time I was moderating a conference on business, and I was asking this lady from, is it Bank of, there's this Ugandan bank that is usually where government puts money for businesses to borrow from.
That is Uganda Development Bank?
Uganda Development Bank. So this lady was telling me the issue about date is we have a specific package for startups. However, most startups don't even make it to the bank to utilize this money. But she made it aware, people aware that the money is actually, there is an allocation for startups or even SMEs. But you just need to also, again, have that information handy, because myself, I didn't know that there is a certain percentage actually that is kind of discounted if you're a startup from Uganda Development Banks. So that is something that I think SMEs could you know, take advantage of. Otherwise, if you really think that the money that has been put there for you to borrow is going to be easy for you, you have credit worthy, it might not be happening in every commercial bank, but at least this is the one bank that we know for sure they have that allocation. So people could take advantage of that. And again, I want to address to what Kirabo is worried about. I don't know what Kirabo deals in, whether it's farming for whatever type of crops, I don't know. I might need a one-on-one to establish the kind of crops that he's looking brains for in this particular season, or he doesn't want rains for. Because I know for sure that there are a lot of farmers actually that could be in the same bucket, wondering what is happening. But again, these rains are not everywhere, by the way. We might wake up to drizzles or a few rains here in Kampala, or even in the afternoon it does enhance, but it's not everywhere. There are a lot of people in the country that are crying over the sun, especially eastern and northern, where people are like, I wish we could get a few rains come through. So yes, for us, we have an advantage being close to the lake. That usually comes, but it's not sustainable. So don't be there and be like, okay, maybe let me plant something to take advantage of the rain. Since they are here, these are not sustainable. They will rain right now, and the next day it will be so shiny and so hot that everything you put in the ground will just burn out. So it's not a rainy season for a lot of areas in the country, so I think we might need to hold on up to September 4th.
So where are they partitioned so that maybe we can do agriculture there?
Yeah, so we have...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he really needs them. So yes, the lake area, you look at areas that stretch from Tororo, Jinja, it crosses over to Kampala, Mukono, it does come to Masaka as well. That whole area surrounding the lake, we usually have those rains that come in through. But they are not seasonal rains. So they are just for short growing crops.
Plant my beans, I can...
I don't know, short growing crops. Are beans short growing?
It's about...
Vegetables, all those. I don't know about that.
We're going to have a one-on-one discussion.
Yeah, but we also have, you know, like people that take advantage
I
of
need
this
to sell
season.
my
Yes.
seedlings when I know the people I'm giving seedlings to.
Why wouldn't you wait for a major rainy season like September to December?
Because we depend on rainfall for agriculture. So any little I see, I
You
want
may
to
as well
plant.
want to
Well, they
utilize
said people should utilize irrigation, and even
things.
said people should get these bicycles and
Robert, you need to
irrigate.
listen. Yes. Anyway, Felix, good morning.
Good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How's your morning?
It's wonderful.
Tuesday, at least far away from the Monday blues.
Yeah. a bit further than Monday itself. So yeah, but this should be a good Tuesday. I'm quite optimistic about that.
Yeah, we pray it's a much better day than yesterday. But of course, Tuesday, still struggling with a new week as we also get into the last days of this month. Quite many things to reminisce about. Still the story in Kasese. Many stories are being told painfully. Lots of controversies. They said some of the kids were just ferried into the school for accountability. Here donors were coming. You know, all these things, and the directors had issues, you know, all these kind of stories, trying to find answers to questions that don't seem to even make sense to the parents, relatives of those young ones who lost their lives. It's still a mystery. Actually, it does qualify to be a mystery death. And many members of parliament have also come out to question the UPDF and other security agencies in regard to how much money they allocate to them and how events are unfolding against Ugandans. I had a couple of members of parliament, including also Barnabas Tinkasimile, who came out to question this exact move. Nevertheless, also in Uganda, in aviation, I'm surprised Mollen didn't skip that. We have it's called what? The Aviation Expo, I think that is supposed to be this week. Not mistaken, sometime this week. I think we'll get more details of that. But we are here wondering much about our aviation in Uganda and the expo. I think we'll get somebody here to clarify and tell us about how that event will go down. Quite interesting. But just on a lighter note, there's something that if you've been keen to notice lately, I don't know if you've attended any functions in Uganda lately. Mostly traditional functions. Have you seen how people dance? Like, they're literally like, I don't know if it's supposed to be okay. I don't know if it's supposed to be fashion or trend. It's so disturbing. You're seated and there's, you know how, like here in Buganda we have traditional, they say let's bring the sisters to greet the visitors, bring the senga. If you know what senga is in Uganda. And you see how they come out? Someone is jumping. There's this dance called the kapere. I don't know. Oh my God. I was looking at...
Ever seen one?
I
think the fun issue is there, but we need to have a discussion about it. It's getting too much. You know, you don't know how can. Do you know who a singer is? Let me talk about Buganda.
But have you seen today's singers, how old they are? They are literally
Even if
young.
you were what?
But also Felix.
They're not the old
Also
singer that
Felix.
can't
Jesus.
dance. These
You may
singers
pardon
actually
them
have it.
because also you may pardon them. Reason being is even these days such functions are rare, so that singers get overexcited. Many just go, but if a singer has been
you know what
honored,
kapere dance is? It kapere or kapere?
I mean, we wouldn't mind a demonstration, honestly. At
Of
this
what?
point.
Of you
That's what I'm
dancing.
talking about.
I asked the producer to play that song. So when you look now these people
we
are
will
dancing, my
demonstrate.
Jesus. And you know, everyone was like, okay. What if this person breaks or what? Like, do you know, it ceases to be fun and it's scary. And
There is
Actually,
a
I've
lot-
ever seen one singer with those high heels. She slid and fell completely.
there's no way you don't have to, you can't fail because
Oh,
the way
Lord
they are
Jesus.
jumping for me to get them kabina
Hey,
and I'm like,
Mpere.
yeah.
Now I understand.
I think we would need
that
like a
song.
whole day to discuss that, because I can tell you the silence here was deafening because everybody has a lot to say about that. You share the same sentiments with a number of Ugandans. I've been again noticing
and Philo
in the
and
last
Robert.
couple of days, people still talking about some of these things that happen at these functions. When you look at the norms and the culture, what you're expected
like everything
to
is
do,
diluted
how you're
in there.
supposed to be behaving at these
Me, the only
functions.
thing that annoys
This
me
is
there,
completely off.
Felix, the only thing that annoys me there is the gifts they give these boys who come to greet. The envelope, and some people put as low as 1,000.
Anyway, we will go
How do you give
to some of
Philomena
our story briefs,
1,000?
local stories or international stories. Robert, what are we looking at?
Well, I think let's start with His Excellency, who resumed official work yesterday after 11 days of suffering from COVID-19. Now, yesterday, His Excellency, accompanied by his wife, Janet Kataha Museveni, started official work by chairing a cabinet meeting.
All security officials have confirmed the arrest of 20 individuals who are suspected to have collaborated with the ADF rebels in the attack of St. Peter Hunter Secondary School in Kasese district. Now, the heinous attack resulted into a tragic loss of at least 42 lives. However, there are concerns regarding the whereabouts of several students who were abducted by the ADF during the raid.
And relatedly, Pope Francis has condemned the brutal attack on students in a school in Western Uganda and prayed for the victims. During prayers at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City, Pope Francis also prayed for an end to such wars and conflict. Meanwhile, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, African Union Commission, and UNICEF have condemned the attack on innocent children.
Now, Uganda is set to nationally celebrate the World Sickle Cell Day on Thursday, 22nd June 2023, under the theme Home and Hospital Care at the Ministry of Health premises. While speaking, Dr. Charles Tiaga, the Sickle Cell Programs Coordinator at the Ministry of Health, he asserted that this year's celebrations drives at minimizing numbers of sickle cell patients that visit hospitals by focusing on improving their health care at home.
We're looking at some of the international stories happening across the globe. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on Israel to immediately cease all settlement activities in occupied Palestinian territory, describing Israel's plans to advance the building of Israel's settlements as driving tensions and violence and being a major obstacle to a lasting peace. The UN chief's comments come after 5 Palestinians were killed, including a 15-year-old boy, and more than 90 were wounded in the fiercest clashes in years, which erupted when Israel forces raided the Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank on Monday. In the first such instance in almost 20 years, Israel sent helicopter gunships which fired rockets at targets in Jenin camp, while Palestinian fighters fought for hours with small arms and explosive devices that disabled several Israel military vehicles, trapping troops inside. Legislators in the United Kingdom have voted to approve a report that recommended sanctioning former Prime Minister Boris Johnson for lying to Parliament about boozy law-breaking parties held during the COVID-19 pandemic. The House of Commons voted 354 to 7 on Monday to endorse the Privileges Committee's report, which concluded that the former leader should have his parliamentary pass revoked. Had he not already quit, it would have also recommended a 90-day suspension from Parliament. Johnson abruptly resigned from Parliament 10 days ago after seeing an advance copy of the report, calling the inquiry a witch hunt.
Now crossing over to DRC, Martin Fayulu, the leading opposition candidate in the Democratic Republic of Congo, says his party would not participate in the upcoming elections if the voter list is not redone, audited, claiming fraud. Fayulu, leader of the Engagement for Citizenship and Development Party, came in second to President Felix Tshisekedi in the last election in 2018. His party said he won and he unsuccessfully challenged the results in court. Millions of Congolese will go to the polls for legislative and presidential election on December 20th. Tshisekedi is expected to seek a second term. Everyone knows that the voter identification and registration process in which we participated took place in a total opacity, a proof of the planning and execution of fraud, Fayulu said in a news conference in Kinshasa on Monday. And now in climate news, the United Nations has adopted the first ever international treaty to govern the high seas and protect remote ecosystems vital to humanity after more than 15 years of discussions. On Monday, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres hailed a historical achievement. The pact will establish a legal framework to extend environmental protection to international waters known as the high seas, which cover more than 60% of the Earth's surface. Climate change is disrupting weather patterns and ocean currents, raising sea surface temperatures and altering marine ecosystems and the species living there, Guterres said, adding that marine biodiversity is under attack from overfishing, overexploitation and ocean acidification.
Well, also looking at the big stories in our dailies, the Daily Monitor, Felix.
Well, looking into the papers, quite a troubling headline again. There we see Night of Horror. And of course, King Mombele seeks answers on Kasese killings, and Health Ministry reports rising cases of COVID-19. Now Museveni officially resumes his duties and how man murdered lover and robbed them. Now doctors ask government for clear plan on interns.
Well, it's good morning, Uganda. We will go for a break. When we come back, we will be having more discussions in the newsroom.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Tuesday, 20th of June 2023, another day to be intentional about what it is you're doing and what it is that you intend to do. Good morning, Uganda. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Once again, thank you so much for joining us as early as now. Speaking of intentional, I love the kind of path we seem to be taking as a country, especially when it comes to the economy. It's no wonder the permanent secretary of the government, rather of the Ministry of Finance, that is, of course, Kolobi, coming out to say that, you know what, in the next financial year, we want to be very, very, very intentional when it comes to managing our finances. And because of this, we are freezing all salary enhancements in different sectors. We want to cut all these supplementary budgets, and we want to draw more focus on growing our domestic revenue, okay? We don't want to focus on other things. Clearly, if that doesn't spell out intentional, then I don't know what does. Well, I hope we can all borrow, we can all borrow a leaf from this ministry and probably even put that into our personal lives. How are you managing your monies this financial year? Away from the budget, really, as an individual, how are you managing your finances? You and your entire household. Do you fit in this strategy? Or maybe you are being excluded. Well, what are you going to cut and what are you going to really put at the front? My name is Philomena, and of course I am joined by the entire Good Morning Uganda crew. Well, Robert, Felix and Mollen join me this morning. Robert, good morning. I don't know if you have thought about managing your personal budget this year, 2023-2024, and I would really love to know how you're planning to do that. How are you?
Oh, I'm very fine. How are you?
Lovely.
Good. And of course, good morning to our lovely viewers who have woken up this morning. Well, today I feel like I want to get hold of Mollen and squeeze her like something. You know how they make orange juice? How you squeeze? Because I don't understand. This rain, why it's coming in such a month where we don't expect rain. So anytime from now, if you hear her making noise, no, I'm working on her because I'm like, well, the March
yes.
to May rains must be done.
Yes.
Now I shouldn't have inconveniences with anything gotten to do with the rains. So anytime you hear any noise, please be patient. I'm working on her.
I was starting to wonder what's going on.
No, I'm working on her. And then she'll take that and the same pain she'll transfer it to the concerned parties. But Gobi Ramadan was very spot on. I think the only thing he forgot to emphasize was the fight against corruption. Because the thieves we have in this country will steal anything that is available. We've ever seen them even steal iron sheets. They've ever stolen buckets. They've ever stolen blankets. Then what about money? So, our dear Secretary to the Treasury, what is very important is what have you done to ensure that the little of these efforts are not ruined by corrupt officials? There is so much corruption that even someone would steal 10,000, yet an official. So I think whatever we are going to do, either we don't increase salaries, we try to boost local production and everything. If we do not come out and stop talking about corruption, but fight corruption, we may not get where we want to go. And that he knows very well. I pray we find also more measures to handle that. But he also talked about something that disturbed my mind, where he said SMEs have failed to absorb
Good morning, Uganda. 2 minutes past 7 a.m. Today is the 20th of June, 2023, a Tuesday. We are 20 days into the month. Of course, by my simple mathematics, that means we only have just about 10 days to the end of this month, the month where we talk about money all over the place, person money, country money, finances, the economy. Well, today could be one of those days. But unlike then, in this very specific moment, we want to talk about something again that's very, very important, something that requires my attention and your attention as a Ugandan, as a person who deserves to be healthy. And when I say we, of course, I mean myself, Philomena, Mastiko, and Felix Nkunda, plus Robert Kirabo. Again, when we talk about health, obviously there are certain things that will pop up in your head. But one of the things is blood shortages in our blood bank. That is the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, which manage our blood bank, are back at it. And every time we hear these men and women in the media, usually it's for a good cause, but also something that we ought to get ourselves worrying about. Well, they've revealed that there is a rise in the demand for the rhesus negative blood types. Now, according to one of their officials, that is Ambrose Mugume, he says that they've been holding this blood in reserve, but now shortages are really going higher and higher by the minute. And they are looking to collect over 3,000 units. And of course, they do encourage every Ugandan that is in a very good health status or state to come through and donate. But looking behind all of this, this is not the first time we are having blood shortages in this country. It's not the first time we've had Uganda Blood Transfusion Services come out to announce and also to encourage people to come through and donate blood. Now, questions of why usually we have these shortages definitely are yet to be answered. Things like what could be stopping an ordinary Ugandan, any Ugandan from donating, are also yet to be answered. So we do encourage you to get into our social media. Let us know, why do you think Ugandans refrain from donating blood? Yes, and why do you think we oftenly experience these shortages? Because this is not something that we need to be putting on the side. Blood is very necessary, especially when it comes to hospitals. So go on to our social media, let us know, give us your reasons, give us your take. We want to share it with the rest of the world. Hashtag UBCJMU on Twitter, and using our WhatsApp platform 0709 602 592. Roberts, what is happening? Ugandans don't want to come through and donate blood. What is going on? And I ask this because I know you are an ardent blood donator.
Well, first, the official from the blood bank was very clear when he said at some point they had reserves, but to put more specific, he said now they don't have any reserves. So they urgently need blood, mostly for these rare groups. Now, we all know blood can never be manufactured. And the challenge is, much as science has gone very far, we cannot have, because we are mammals, then maybe we bring blood of a goat, blood of a chimpanzee, blood. That doesn't work. Even in blood, we have blood groups. And there are blood groups that cannot donate, human blood groups, that I may not be able to give Felix my blood, however much is my very good friend in case he needs blood. You may not be able to give me blood in case I'm in a situation that requires blood, because our blood groups do not match. You may, maybe when you're a universal donor, I think that's O plus, something like that. O plus,
yes.
Yes, universal donor. But for certain instances, you may not be able. So that is how complicated blood is. And no science has come up to develop human blood. So if it could be manufactured, then we would tell government, increase finances, let's buy blood, let's have as much blood as we can in our hospitals. We would criticize government for that. But now it is human beings that must donate to other human beings so that we can have blood. And one of the things people forget, anyone, any day, can potentially need blood.
Yes.
It could be any form of disease that makes you anemic when you need to have more blood in your body. It could be an accident. It could be an attack. Like, say, the survivors of Kasese, you may find that some needed blood. It could be anything. For our dear ladies, not to scare anybody, many mothers in the process of giving birth, many die because of lack of blood. We don't have blood, and this becomes a problem. Now, why aren't Ugandans so much responding to this? Because I want to tell you, the biggest donors of blood in our country are students. That is where the blood bank turns to. Students, most of the times, they go to schools, sometimes the army, and armed forces per se. That's where you find that a number of them go to get blood. But most of these campaigns where they station at Constitutional Square, maybe now they go to the corporate companies, but there the collection has been very, very minimal. Sometimes you find them around the taxi park and all that. Ugandans do not have that culture of donating blood. One, lack of enough information, because there is so much untruth associated with giving blood. To many people, you ask them, why don't you give blood? They either have a myth or misinformation or something that they have been told. Well, when you give blood, this happens when you. So there is lack of information, and what they have is the wrong information. There is lack of right information. Two, fear. Someone looks at what they use to collect blood, and they're scared. They fear pain, which is just so short. But someone fears pain. Some people, is it a phobia for seeing blood? When they just look at blood, some people fear. They're like, now what if it's coming from me? But also, we've had some challenges where some people have donated blood, and when they need blood, they have to pay for that blood. Yet blood should be free. Someone says, I've donated blood, others have not donated, but when they needed blood, or a relative needed blood, they had to pay an arm and leg to ensure that they get the blood. The blood transfusion is done for their loved ones. So these are some of the challenges that either demoralize someone from saying, let me go and donate blood, because it says, even if I donate, my blood is going to be sold, which is not true, or sometimes where it's done, it is an illegality. My blood is going to be sold. When I need blood, I may not get the blood. Then others have all sorts of thinkings. When you donate blood, you develop this, you develop that. Then others, just the pain. But above all, many of them have not appreciated, because we've not had reasonable role models. Because, Philo, in some places, for you to come out as a responsible person, you must have given to charity. You're going to be a community leader, you're going to do something, you must have given to charity. When you hear stories of people in the US, governors, what they pride in, they will talk about charity, they'll talk about how many times they have donated blood. Those are things they talk about. Come to Uganda. You cannot wake up and say maybe the Kwagana group has led a campaign and they're all gathering to donate blood. You cannot talk about maybe members of parliament and how in this and things that would someone would feel proud and give back. We do not cherish that here. It's good cars, monies, posh houses. So also we've lacked those role models that have been proper ambassadors. I think the only person I know is General Katumba Wamala, who I always see talk about blood and donating, has donated over about 25 times, something like that. So we lack this. Sometimes community needs to have role models to to push it to do certain things. People they admire. And for example, I was inspired by Felix to donate blood, you know, and now at least a year I do that 2 times. Because he said, Robert, these people wake up and watch us every day. How do we give back to them? What if we go and we make it our routine? We save a life or lives that we donate, we give them back for watching us, for waking up. That when someone needs blood, we can save a life. And it spoke sense to me. I said, well, so how do we go? He said, no, let's sit in the car, let's drive to Nakasero. Reach there, you are welcome to donated blood. And because I was inspired by someone and given cause, I now donate blood. I make sure 3 times every year I donate blood. So people lack such character.
The man in the street, you should be.
Well, I mean,
used to say nursery, papa.
I honestly, I am very grateful that we have people like him and you who actually come out to donate blood. But now that he's looking on an individual basis, we also would love to understand why we actually come through and have some of these shortages. I think around April, Hoima West Member of Parliament, that is Honorable Ruyonga, came out to say that the resource envelope from government to enable the Uganda transfusion blood services be able to collect enough blood is very small. And he went on to give details that of a population, Ugandan population of about 45.7 million, we are expected to be collecting more than 473,000 units of blood. But he said by May, there will definitely be no blood. And it's no wonder that right now we are in June and we are talking about all these shortages. So could it be that the limited monies that are sent specifically to that docket could be one of the, or if not the biggest reason as to why we're incurring these blood shortages? Because in his mind, he was saying that maybe government needs to look at about a responsible amount of money to be given to that docket. So could that be the biggest reason or probably one of the reasons?
If I may borrow some of the economic appreciations in terms of standardizing what actually the problem is. One thing that informs demand is what?
Supply.
But also the latter of them is need. You get the point? We will make available depending on the need. Now, it is not automatic that whenever there is need, supply is available. Having looked at some of the other aspects that affect blood donation, I think we shouldn't be fearful to also look at some of the reasons why the need is going up by the day. It's unfair for us to discuss the absence of blood, the shortage, but not discuss the causes. It would be unfair. Why do you think the demand for blood always shoots up all the time? I think we need to approach this issue of shortage of blood at the blood bank from both sides. We can't talk about the absence of donors, we need to put pressure here. That's very true. But let's also talk about the reasons why the consumption for blood is too much. That the point that you don't get blood when you go here, yet it was put, like it gets done quickly. We need to address those factors. We need to limit, because it's not good enough for us to bring blood, but that much that we bring is just. For example, what are the reasons that there's a high demand of blood? One of the first major reasons is the increased numbers of road accidents. Right? Second, you look at the poor maternal health care. All right? Now, you look at also the poor facilities, medical facilities, the unresponsive, the responsive, timely, or untimely responses to medical health care. Those, among very many others, are the reasons to why we struggle with blood. Part of the reasons. Actually, it may not necessarily be true that the reason why we have shortage is because people don't donate. It could be that these other causes that consume a lot of blood are also on high. That when the people who actually need blood go to hospitals, it has been consumed because, for example, look at the accident rate of border borders in the CDB. And sadly, the people who consume the lots of blood, their groups don't donate. I want you to go and try to see if you can get blood from a border stage. You go and put the people who get blood at a bar area, the ones
put
who
a blood drive and then
drunk,
yes.
And they kill people. You put there that's
A unit.
Probably it's called a pint or something.
Unit.
You see, we need to also talk about, that is another problem when you talk about blood donation and shortage of blood. We must be able to tighten the output, for us to also be sure that we can have something to save. But we can't be getting, and everything we are getting is just thrown out the window. Just like they used to tell us when our mothers used to talk to us, when she starts saying, you see, that's a problem with you mothers, Philomena. When someone talks, it's a problem. When they keep quiet, she said, "Biekugamba biyingirira muno." Bifulumira, like what I'm saying. You should get in here because you're just keeping quiet. When you say something, right, so it's the same thing with blood. We are collecting from one side, but also the outlet is quite big. Actually, the outlet is bigger than the input.
Yeah.
When you look at a funnel, the collection is the down part of the funnel. But the outlet is the top part. We are up bottom. Now, that's also an issue to discuss. That we are spending, and I'm not saying that there's anyone who shouldn't get it, but the avoidable causes, the avoidable elements we can deal with to reduce, I don't want to say wastage, but to reduce the use of, this shortage can be remedied. We need to cut down on
the demand of blood.
Yes, that's actually that's a good one. We must reduce the demand where we can. Of course, a sickness you don't have much, but there are those that we can. For example, maternal health is one of the biggest challenges of blood. Our mothers, our wives, our children, our sisters have lots of complications in the theaters when they are giving birth. Why? Some of them are caused because, one, they don't have the right information when they get pregnant. Those who have the right information do not have the right access or the availability to access and afford maternal health care, proper maternal health care. Now, that's why at time of giving birth, there's a lot of fidgeting because you did not prepare for, okay, even sometimes when you did prepare, but those cases are small. But the major cases, it's a build-up. We need, because one thing is, there is no way you can talk about blood donation and not discuss healthcare system. Okay? If women are going to hospitals and they're not responded to timely, you can't tell me they will not get problems there in the theaters. Are the doctors there when the mothers who want to give birth need them? Or someone will wait for another 4 hours because a doctor or an intern is somewhere first striking before they come to attend. Now, at that point, we are already in a risk, what we call the red zone. Anything can happen. Are the midwives available timely? Secondly, how available are these facilities, the health centers? Are they reachable in time? Because these are the causes why women have challenges when they're in. And I'm talking about the negligence. That's a good one. How intentional are the medical officers? We have done cases where it is entirely negligence. Someone comes and these girls are on phones. These doctors are romancing in corridors. And someone goes to a very, very critical point, and the first thing to do is to put blood. Let's go to accidents. Are we really having accidents in this country? Are we having accidents or is something else?
Are the accidents accidental?
I saw this young man. How can a psychologist want to knock a police officer? When we talk about education, you say, you Felix, how do you talk about that one went to school? And to study what? Psychology. But you saw him wanted to run over a police. Now, what if that man had broke a leg of this police officer? We are looking for blood. But are those really accidents? Those are the causes. So even if we discuss something to do with shortage of blood, we must ably discuss why the need is also going high. Last Friday, I was privileged to celebrate the life of one of the greatest men I've known. And in mass that we said for my mzee at the late Lubowa, the priest was saying, he said something very important. He said, you people come here to pray for life. But you are alive. You have the life. I think you also have a duty to keep the life. And he gave an example about people. He said that, how do you say how do you, from church for praying for life, you go to the road and drive recklessly? And then you say Zontuko, like the president one time said it. Why is it Ntuko for Africans? The Koreans who live up to 110, 190, what? Are they not God's creation? They tell you Ntuko.
Doesn't God need them?
You find someone in this country, they drink alcohol from morning to morning.
Monday to Monday.
Now, and then you go to church saying, like, who's fooling who? When you talk about blood donation, let's also discuss these issues. Because blood is being, I don't want to say wasted, I'm trying to avoid that word. But we are spending, our efforts are becoming futile because of some things we can avoid. You talk about this Zahia Subaru, every time there's an accident. I'm trying not to comment on Robert's group, but I have no choice. The people who ride, who are you showing? My late Mzee always told us, there's nothing new. You young man who's riding a boda. Those bodas have been here. See, go out, people who are riding pichi. You could be the 100 millionth. There's nothing. You sit down. These are the problems that cause shortage in blood donation. It is not that people are not donating. That could be, there could be. I mean, it could be also a challenge.
Yes,
but also the need is high because of we're not closing the gaps.
Preventable.
Absolutely.
Preventable.
And that's our biggest worry. And I've given you some of the challenges. Okay? Look at how enforcement is not doing us any better. For example, the biggest partners of blood donation should be some of these institutions. The people who sell borders. Yuvraj, Bajaj, what, Piang Wong, what, Yung Ying, what, whatever their names are. Hey? Smaiswaupi, they have Kawasui, those ones. They should be the ones. Now, when you sell these pitches to these chidabos, educate them that these are also death traps. Kanukatiru. The way you find a young man putting the legs like this, 2, 3, then the man passes you, he jumps, before you find him there, and that out of every 10 borders, the chances of getting an accident are 5 out of 5. These are the realities. This is where the blood goes. But and we can avoid them. Someone is you ride on shoulders.
I mean, when you go to the trauma section of these hospitals and you see most of these, and most of them are actually border men,
yeah.
And you're wondering, why are we seeing this large number of
and
people?
We have had this discussion, Philomena, again and again and again, but no one seems to listen. Now, you're putting pressure on blood bank. Collect blood, school children, how many of them do you take blood to Congo? You're pressurizing the students. How many of them take them? Why are you parasites? Let's deal with the problem. The drunkards who are knocking people left, right, etc. Why are they not arrested? Why don't let the blood bank also go to these bars around town? We know they
should go to the border stages. They go to downtown there and make sure that they get the blood that
actually,
they can
the biggest challenge is
we can forgive the mothers, some of them, but by far the shortage of blood is the challenge is also in this, but the need is increasing, but also the contribution to the need is recklessness or negligence, as you say. It's not natural.
So we need to prevent preventable need of blood.
Honestly, how many cases have you had that we are short of blood because of sicklers? What? Sicklers are overtaking blood, or leukemia no.
We have
These are not natural
accidents.
Yes. Yeah.
Mothers and
those are the biggest,
children below the age of
some of the biggest
5, most of them who suffer from malaria and they get anemic. But also,
let's talk about those guys.
Felix mentioned very well that preventable, we should ensure that preventable causes where we need blood should be dealt with. But also we shouldn't forget that when you look at statistics that are global required population vis-a-vis what you should have in your blood bank, we are still not doing very fine. So much as we must emphasize that we should only have a blood transfusion where the cause of that transfusion was unpreventable. We should also, at the back of our minds, say that on average what we require, given our population, we are still very much below the belt. But I think also, Philo, there's another concern I find here, is that also this issue of blood donation, I don't think by and large we've taken it as a serious issue.
How do you mean? Like
these discussions where you would feel they should even come to the floor or something like that, there is something you feel lacking in terms of how we have prioritized it. When you go to the communities, my brother was talking about Felix here. Go to a border stage. Talk about blood donation. Listen to the views and opinions. You know, go to the public. I remember one time, I think twice, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, and is it Nakasero Blood Bank? We've had partnerships and they have brought a tent here and collected blood. But you would see how elites, people in the corporate world, view blood donation. I was shocked when I even saw someone who came and said, just put on me that thing. Then that person posed for us picture and didn't even donate blood.
But they shouldn't, that shouldn't actually be acceptable. That shouldn't be acceptable.
You go downtown, you find people to government. You know, we lack either, I don't want to say it is reason.
No.
You know,
well,
Felix.
Before we even proceed to that, we do have some feedback here. And there is a gentleman or a lady, I'm not certain, but they're saying Uganda can be anything, but still got generous, loving, and caring people who continuously donate blood. But we also need to understand that there is some organization that could be necessary within the blood bank people, especially when it comes to selling blood. Yes, so probably he's looking at it from that perspective. People who he claims there are people who sell blood from the blood bank, aside from the hospitals, but he's being very specific. And there is another viewer here who is saying that it is because if you have a patient, you'll never get free blood in public health centers. This blood is actually sold to them. But also I think it's very necessary, important to know, when you need this blood in the hospital, do you purchase it or it is given to you? Because there are several complaints that have been forwarded and presented as, on that front. People are being sold this blood, but the question is, should you be buying that blood or accessing it free?
You know, I'll tell you my experience. There's a time I had we had to buy the blood. I'm being honest.
Was it a public or a private hospital?
It was I don't want to get into that, but
because that would give me a basis for what I'm going to say.
No. The reality of the matter is that, for example, let me ask you, regardless whether it's private or government, where do they get it?
Because this
So unless
is
you're
the
telling
explanation.
unless you're telling us that the blood bank also sells blood to the
No,
private
this is the
hospitals.
explanation I was going to give you.
Because what
In
the viewer is
public,
trying to
this
say
is what I
that-
want to say. In public,
There's nowhere they sell
public
blood.
hospitals, let me drive the point, due to what I know from authorities. Now, in public hospitals, blood is supposed to be free.
Why?
Government, let me finish. Government hospitals have these facilities that store blood. In private hospitals, blood is supposed to be free because they get it free of charge. However, they levy a cost of storage because not every hospital can store blood. So when we hosted them here, actually I remember about 2 years back, and these issues were raised, they said when this will come and take blood from us, because blood is not stored like any other form of medicine. They have special facilities to store this blood that I think cost of those facilities, electricity and all that. So the private hospitals levy a charge, but it's not that they get this blood free of charge.
So the
So
charge
if you
is-
go to a private hospital and you need a blood transfusion because of their facilities, and they're private anyway, so they will levy a charge on a unit of blood you're going to get.
Now-
when you go to a public hospital and someone charges you for blood, report, because there no fee is supposed to be levied on the blood transfusion.
Let me just say this. You see, this is where also we want to take on these guys of the blood bank. If you're looking at this whole issue and increasing the turn up of people donating blood, you must also be serious about your product, because your product, they're doing a product called blood. Now, this whole thing of saying storage and unstorage of what storage, of whose storage, is also very, very lucrative and shallow. Okay? Because if it's a free good, those who want to benefit out of it, let them prepare facilities at their cost. It's a simple thing. If we are saying we're not selling blood, that should be the denominator. This
It
business
should
of saying,
occurs for all
"Ah, here,
either
I bought a
public, private
fridge or whatever they
institutions."
keep in free, that's not our problem. Because the institution is there. Are you saying you're going to charge everyone for what, how you keep what? Then you say,
Because also it's very important to note that
You know,
people who donate, it's the blood is actually
the
donated.
expectation
Yes.
is that it should be free.
Yes.
Now,
Save a
these are
life
some of the
somewhere.
challenges that cause people not to give blood. And I've told you personally, I've paid for blood for my patient, not once, not twice. But how many he has been tested, I've been donating blood, I don't know since when. So that's the thing. We must also be serious. If facilities, private facilities, cannot avail blood for free, don't give them blood. Give them where they can be able. Those who are able to have the facilities and give blood, because you're the ones now who are working
If you're
against
going
yourselves.
to charge them that extra fee, you may as well leave out that
Leave,
service
yeah.
out of your catalog,
Yes.
and then they can always go to
Go where
where they
it
can
is.
actually access the blood without having to,
Because secondly,
pay
you're
for
not
it.
in control of how much they have to pay
Yes.
at their facilities. Now, for you cannot say that perhaps as blood bank, your private company, you'll be paying 20,000. Some people are charged over
Because they're
500,000.
different actually price.
You have no
charge lists.
control.
Yes.
So now, for you to think they're paying for storage, it's being sold in return. Hospitals are in for business. So the blood bank, check yourselves. Your patient in Uganda has to give you blood and you're selling it. For us, that's what we see.
Well, there is
That's how it
feedback
turns
here
out.
from Obed in Kakoba Mbarara saying that how will they collect blood that's full of alcohol? There is also a need for people to take care of themselves to ensure that whatever blood they're giving out is actually very healthy. And he says that anyway, I think they should widen the strategies to save more blood. But whether you're a border man, whether you are a drunkard or any other person can actually
think we
need
need
blood
an
at
expert
some
to tell us
point.
who can
And we
donate
are all
blood now at this
entitled
point.
to right of life according to the Constitution. And then there is another viewer who is asking, should storage be that expensive?
Exactly.
Storage should not be a valid reason for people
Honestly.
overcharging for this blood, especially in the private hospitals.
Maybe
So-
just for my brother who talked about drunkards. One, when this blood is collected, if you're a potential donor and you donate blood, it goes through another process where it's screened very well. and there are other tests done, for example, for you to ensure that this blood has no HIV, has no hepatitis, things like...
It is healthy blood.
It is healthy blood.
Yes.
So however much you are drunkard, please donate blood. This blood
Alcohol doesn't go in the blood. It goes on the head.
These are not traffic offences where they will look for a certain percentage of alcohol and say, because your blood has so much alcohol.
That could be going to a fellow alcohol.
So please donate and leave the rest to the expert. If it's not fit for human consumption, then believe you me, not all blood that is collected actually is actually used. Some they find when the person has HIV, so they cannot use that blood. They have to discard it.
You leave that bit to the specialist.
You come as
go
you are.
if you
Just
are.
come with your alcohol.
Yeah, if
Come
you're
drunk, come confused, come hyper, whatever. What you want is that unit of blood.
One final comment from Aro Polycarp says the challenge is that we donate our blood free of charge, but when you go to a public health facility, they'll make you to just buy your own blood, and that's a very demoralizing.
And also,
Very
in addition to that, even hospitals hide the blood for the highest bidder. I have gone through that. I'm telling you what I've seen.
Yes.
No, and Felix is right. I ever gone to hospital also when they said they didn't have blood,
But
and
when
I had
you,
to call
the deep pocket.
Yes.
But
Even
you know
if
how
your
you're
pocket
lucky.
is deep enough, you
You're
can
connected.
actually access.
And you know what?
Some of us
you can
are
access
scared.
blood.
The fun that I found in this, despite it was a tough moment, is when they said we don't have any blood and we need about 3 units. They talked about some bills, so I had to call the hospital director. Said, Commissioner, now you're telling me in just minutes, blood had come and in next.
But yeah, but
Right.
as you see,
So
that's very,
it's-
very demoralizing for a person who actually donates
gives
blood
like
every single year.
consecutively. I
Very,
mean,
very.
Actually, some of us have it on our calendar.
Yes.
That Alphonse will remind you. We said at least every after 3 months. And then I was, by the way, a bit.
And Felix
there was
even has a
so much
title.
pain.
You know, when you donate some, let me tell you the story I found at
just
the
leave
blood bank.
Yes.
You see, when you donate many times, they have certain things like a booklet.
Yes.
Then first you move from. So I went with my friend here, and for me, I was just starting the process. The man had a booklet, has like a certain title when you donate, who is a whatever donator. So imagine, the man who has
person
donated.
has done that,
and has
and then
a
you're going to a
book.
hospital
Did you go with
and
your
you're
book
paying.
when you wanted?
No, you don't.
Well, we do encourage
evidence
you.
of
But we had to pay.
We do encourage you
pay,
to
but it is
please
what it is.
donate blood, but also it's,
Come
I
as
think,
you are.
very, very, yes, come as you are, and leave the real technical work to the specialist to sort out that blood. All you have to do, if you're rendered eligible to donate blood, please come through and donate the blood, but also...
I beg to add my voice. I think the key figures in every country normally should have something to give to communities. Not all of you can build hospitals, build schools,
Yeah, sure
community
thing.
work,
Sure
but there are
thing.
things we can do together. I can imagine if one day Honorable Senator Muchagwani woke up and said, people, the supporters, like ghetto youth, what, let's tukunganire kolo tugaba omusaayi. Can you imagine how that place would look just to give blood? I'm imagining His Excellency the President of Uganda, the Chairman NRM, Sibana NRM tukunganeko to give blood today Kololo.
Parliamentarians.
The Honorable Anita Mong says, you in every constituencies, in areas, for example, regions, north, east, central,
Yes.
when do we do something for Uganda? He said it, when do our leaders, and I don't want without picking out anyone, opposition, government, whatever you are,
As
when
long
do
as
you
you're
ever do
Ugandan.
something? If it's not about you.
Now we need just 3,000
Yes,
units.
yes.
Do you know how many people we need?
3,000 and more 3,000
Yeah,
units.
3,000
Yes.
Just
people
given
have
you
that
names.
unit. We have
The
that.
cultural leaders. And I want to use this program to thank the Kabaka of Uganda. Without fear of contradiction, without fear of favoritism, he has stood out in terms of public good. I send my thanks to him and his management. At least we have seen him. You have seen him put money, sickle cell, fistula. You know, women were, and the evidence, malaria,
cancer.
now AIDS. He declared that for 6 years. Where are the other leaders? Away from
Well, that's a call out to all the leaders. We are waiting to see the contribution that you will make to the communities. I mean, aside from the other responsibilities, this is also very key and very important to have your efforts put into. Well, we'll move on to the next thing. Mollen, Kenyena coming in with more updates coming in from the weather and climate area, and of course telling you the situation that is happening on the roads. But before that, looking at the big stories in our papers this morning, the Daily Nation, moment of truth, decision time, voting likely to drag on into the night or extend to tomorrow's sitting. And health CS sends officials home amid probe, and cooking oil, baby food, whiskey locked up as shoplifting surges in tough economy. Things are getting harder by the minute. The Citizen, who is the next CJ? MPs, experts propose ways of boosting economic growth. Direction of debate on port argument comes under scrutiny, and revealed how drug dealers now scheme to avoid arrest. Daily Monitor and The Citizen, get yourself copies of all these papers to catch up on those stories.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Buy the MTN WakaNet router, which connects up to 32 devices, and get a free 40 GB data bundle at only 149,000 shillings. Or buy the MTN WakaNet MiFi at only 75,000 shillings and enjoy a free 15 GB bundle to stream, study, work, and play on the go. Visit any MTN service center to buy the MTN WakaNet router or MiFi and enjoy the internet that does amazing things.
Uganda is rich in natural resources and hard-working people. But to turn these resources into real progress and development, we need to invest in our infrastructure, education, and healthcare. That's where taxes come in. When we pay our taxes, we are investing in our country's future. We are supporting the schools that educate our children, the hospitals that care for our families, and the roads and bridges that connect our communities. And when businesses pay their taxes, they are contributing to the growth and development of Uganda's economy. They are helping to build a stronger, more prosperous nation for us all. So when you pay your taxes, you are investing in the future of Uganda and supporting the progress and development of our nation. Uganda is because of you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Nkwanga Ramazan is my name, the head teacher of this great school, Ikumbia Seed Secondary School. The school has the staff room well furnished, administration well furnished, the computer lab well furnished, the library wonderful, the multipurpose hall well furnished. The teachers are also enjoying in the staff quarters. The school has teachers totaling to 28. Ikumbia Seed has embraced the new curriculum. I want to thank the government for that bright idea. There are many students that end up in senior 4 with no document. But with the coming of the IT, the skill children are going to have certificates in skills as early as senior 3. And that certificate is equivalent to a senior 4 certificate. Ikumbia Seed Secondary School is a very great school that has influenced the lives of people or changed the lives of people of Ikubia sub-county. I want to thank the parents and the government for this kind of input.
Iwakato, this is a quick call. I'm almost out of minutes. Now, the center.
Why rush through such important conversations? Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial *100*1#. Select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, you're still watching Good Morning Uganda. We will be looking at the traffic updates this morning for the roads joining in from the Kampala Northern Bypass heading into Kampala town. We'll be looking at most of those and leading off with the one from Hoima Road. If you're going to be using some of those roads over there, we do have quite intense traffic that is right around Sentima Road as well if you're using that area, and also the one from Hoima Road that is crossing over to Namungona. Quite some intense traffic, but that does clear as you lead into most of the roads connecting right there. So through Kasubi, again, you do have some intense traffic indicated by the orange lines over there. But then again, as you connect from the traffic lights that is joining in from Masiro Road, Kawala side, you do have a little bit of clearance right there. And if you're continuing with Hoima Road, it looks like that is quite okay. It does get intense as you head towards areas of Nankulabye. That is where we have some intense traffic. Also, that is over the traffic lights. That is one that you can look out for. But also, if you're connecting from that using Sentuma Road, you do have a little bit of clear traffic that is over there indicated by the green lines. But continuing with Hoima Road, again, if you're headed into town, it looks like most of that also does get a little bit intense, and that is from the junction that does join in to Chadondo Road. So that is the one that you might have to be aware of. It does have that is the red colors right there indicating some intense traffic. We'll go look at the weather update as well for this morning. We'll be tapping in from the satellite, and this morning we're looking at mostly cloudy weather across the islands of Lake Victoria. That did develop earlier. It brought in rains across parts of the Lake Victoria basin, but looks like that system is also starting to move away, mostly westward. So we're still not in the clear. We do expect that we might be dealing with rains again later on as the morning progresses, also into the afternoon. So that will be across parts of Jinja. We're looking at Tororo, Mukono, also parts of Kampala, Wakiso, and that will be extending westward, so meaning also areas of Rengo, Sembabule, Masaka. We could be having rains for you later on as the day progresses. Southwestern Uganda starting off with mostly cloudy weather. That is across areas of Kabale, Kisoro, and also extending to Mbarara, Bushenyi, Fort Portal as well. And we're looking at quite a cloudy one for the central north of Uganda. We're looking at Gulu right now, starting off mostly cloudy, and that is also bringing in a few rains actually over the area. But looks like that is moving westward, so again we're also likely to have rains come through. That will be for the northwestern part of the country. But we'll go ahead and look at the forecast that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and also see what we're expecting in terms of temperatures. For the central part of northern Uganda, we'll be looking at more of a clearing trend later as the morning progresses, mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine, and starting off with a warm 28 degrees. And also that is still for the center north. We do have more of those clouds developing in, and obviously starting off quite warm with 28. Southwestern part of the country, we're likely to have a mix of clouds and sunshine. That will be starting off at 28 as well. The western part of Lake Victoria Basin, we are forecasting that is isolated showers. That is with areas of Masaka, Kalisizo, Sembabli and Rakai, and temperatures will be at a warm 28. Across the eastern parts of Lake Victoria, Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja, we're also going to be having those rains come through later on as the day progresses. And that will be starting off also quite warm with a 27 degrees. And across eastern Uganda, mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine. Also, that will be across areas of Soroti, Katakwi, Amoria, as well as Kumi. And we're looking at the eastern part of central Ruero, Woblenzi, Bururi and Nakaseke. We are forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine that will be developing into rains. That will be later on in the afternoon. But for this morning, it's quite pleasant. We're looking at 27 degrees over the area. And across the central part of Lake Victoria Basin, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, we're also forecasting isolated showers. Those will be coming in across several places within that region. And starting off with 25 degrees for this morning, we do expect that most of that will reappear in the afternoon, bringing in more rainy weather, especially for the Lake Victoria Basin. And looking beyond what is happening outside of Uganda, this morning we read a story on the international treaty, but just to throw more light, the world has for the first time that is adopted the international treaty to protect the high seas, which was adopted yesterday. That was due to the landmark that was created by the United Nations. Now, 15 years ago, there were talks about protecting the oceans, the ecosystem, but also looking at how we can attack climate change from that angle. And yesterday, from what came across, this was a legally binding treaty that was formed, spearheaded by the UN, and of course it makes up also more than 60% of the world's oceans. Now, this is basically to protect the oceans from, first of all, acidification, which has been a huge deal, especially when it comes to the ocean in terms of pollution. But also want to look at more of what this means, especially when we are talking about what is at stake. Now, following more than 15 years of these talks about how we can make formal negotiations, the member states in the United Nations did agree that there should be a shared responsibility on who protects these oceans. Because again, in the fight against climate change, we know that we know that some of these emissions or the greenhouse gases, for example, carbon dioxide, they are easily taken up by the oceans. So the more you do not protect these oceans, it means that you're leaving, that area where the oceans can easily take in carbon dioxide. And of course, that means you're limiting global warming. So that is the concern there. But also what has been for long ignored is more on the environmental fights, because we also know that most of the industries illegally channel what would be their trash from the industry into some of these big oceans, and for that threatens marine life. And we've seen that also some of the species that were almost lost, the fish species, because of acidification and also pollution to the main oceans. So now with this treaty, each country that shares a part on the ocean has a responsibility to protect it, and anything that has to be done over the ocean, any activity, every country has to be informed. I'll give you an example. If we are talking about an issue of Lake Victoria, imagine if we're talking about an issue of Lake Victoria, before like Tanzania does any activity on the lake, they would have to inform Uganda, they would have to inform Kenya and everyone that shares the lake. And then you at that point, you have to now come into table and see, is it environmentally threatening to the lake? And even if it is on their side, we still get to be responsible. So that is the treaty that just became legally binding for all the nations, all the member states within the UN to protect oceans. It means that before anything is done, it has to be a concern of every member state, and they have to look at how crucial this is for countries that will be protecting the world oceans. And of course, we're looking at an agreement that still goes up to 2030, where they will have to again sit back and look at this historical accord and see how far they have gone, and especially in terms of targets that were also put across at that. But we also did see a lot of climate scientists coming up to say this was something that was needed, and for over time we have had a blame game on who is polluting the environment, who is polluting the oceans. It means that no one was getting responsible. But with this treaty, you do any activity that poses a threat to marine life and you're not owning up to it, it means that there will be repercussions, and a lot of people could actually be going to court, because this actually means that it does get you into the books of being responsible. And of course, the analysis also shows that aspects of sea level rise, we know that sea level rise has also been the evidence for climate change, and that is what scientists are looking at and seeing how far that the world has been warming, or in terms of the consequences of climate change. So this is something that was also talked about. Uncertainties have been and remain difficult to quantify, but the language in it actually does show reports often that have fallen short, oversimplifying simply the projections that convey information on climate change. But we also know that a lot of protection to the seas would actually help with that, especially with the warming factor. We have also seen oil spills, especially for oceans. We know that there are big fleets that use these oceans to cross over, but it means that before you transport things like oil, it has to be really looked into whether there are possibilities of spills, because usually those get away, they consider them as accidents, but in actual sense sometimes it's laxity from the member countries that are involved in this kind of transportation. So now that they know they could actually be liable to this, it means that before even the oil is transported over the ocean, you have to seek the procedure to do that, and it has to be agreed that it's okay, it is safe to transport this, because this has been also a threat and obviously contributing to some of these factors. And of course, this was also something that came across in the 6th assessment report that was done by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, looking at how oceans can be protected. This report came out last year, and they were urging climate scientists and member states to get on board and see that there is something that is done for protection of oceans. And this comes at a very good time when we're also looking at proceedings that will be happening later this year in the global UN conference on climate change. And now at least they can talk about this having been accomplished as one of the global treaties that would actually be looking at protecting these high seas. We'll leave it at that. Later than this, we'll be having Good Morning Uganda agenda. You can look out for that. That will be coming in after a short break. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. Have a good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret? Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM? Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk. No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving. Juko. I thought I was one of your friends. You are. But you left me behind. I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
This is a quick call. I'm almost out of minutes. Now, the center.
Why rush through such important conversations? Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial star 100 star 1 hash, select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Nkwanga Ramazan is my name, the head teacher of this great school, Ikumbia Seed Secondary School. The school has the staff room well furnished, administration well furnished, the computer lab well furnished, the library wonderful, the multipurpose hall well furnished. The teachers are also enjoying in the staff quarters. The school has teachers totaling to 28. Ikumbia Seed has embraced the new curriculum. I want to thank the government for that bright idea. There are many students that end up in senior 4 with no document. But with the coming of the IT, the skilled children are going to have certificates in skills as early as senior 3. And that certificate is equivalent to a senior 4 certificate. Ikumbia Seed Secondary School is a very great school that has influenced the lives of people or changed the lives of people of Ikumbia sub-county. I want to thank the parents and the government for this kind of input.
Mwami Musoke, njose nekusanga.
Ate chichi.
Munange, anti gwamanya kunyinyonyola ebintu by'emisolo bino n'embitegeera.
Ate chichi leero.
Mbadde ku dduuka ne mpulira nga abakyala bagamba mbu tulina okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS.
Tukikolanga.
Kituufu
nnyo.
Mbadde sikimanyi nakyo.
Eyo y'enkola egenda okutuyamba okulwaninga bizinesi zaffe mu ngeri ya digital.
Etya.
Oba olina okuwandiisa bizinesi yo mu IFRIS, osobola okumanya omuwendo gw'ebintu by'olina mu bizinesi yo, enfulumya n'ennyingiza mu bizinesi yo.
awo URA esobola okukola omulimu gwayo gw'emisolo obulungi.
Nedda mwami musoke kyesitegeera IFRIS eyingira etya mu bizinesi yange.
Kakati enkola ne IFRIS eyingiza bizinesi yo mu system ya URA kubanga tekyali kya buntu bulamu okugerekera omusolo ogutali mutuufu abateebereza buteebereza.
Ekyo kituufu ddala bannange, ekyo kituufu kubanga mazima obadde omusolo kubadde gwapaala bupaazi ng'ogenda n'osasula omusolo gw'otomanyiiko omutwe n'amagulu kwegamba bambi nga tekiriiyo.
Olaba kakati ate n'ekirala IFRIS eyamba okukuuma ebiwandiiko bya bizinesi yo kuba biyinza okubulako, biyinza okukwata omuliro, naye kati wano IFRIS biba biri digitalized.
Bannange nenkola ntya okwewandiisa?
Kyaku nnyo waludde dda. Okwewandiisa mu nkola ya IFRIS genda ku kibanja kya URA www.ura.go.ug awo olondeko e-invoicing awo no ogoberere endagiriro. URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. Welcome to GMU Agenda on this wonderful Tuesday morning. It is the 20th of June 2023. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Together with Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono and Felix Nkunda, here to talk about business, especially focusing on the small medium enterprises here in Uganda, the SMEs. When we look at their performance as business practitioners, looking at their progress, looking at how they're navigating whatever it is they're doing. But this is stemmed from some of the revelations that were made by the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance, that is Ramadan Gobi, talking about how some of these businesses are, or actually most of these small medium enterprises, how they have failed to successfully absorb the funds that have been given to them by government, especially when it comes to recovery of their businesses. Well, be part of this conversation. We want to know from you, why do you think small medium enterprises have continuously failed to absorb these stimulus packages that have been availed to them readily by government? Let us know. Could the problem be leaning more into government, or could it be leaning more onto these small medium enterprises? Let us know. Twitter, #UBCGMU, and our WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. We want to know. We know that Uganda's business sector has quite a large uptake by the small medium enterprises. Very many reasons have been, and challenges have been put out there by some of the people who are fully involved in these businesses, talking about why it has become hard for them to survive. Looking at the survival rate of a small medium enterprise here in Uganda, usually they'll tell you that most of them don't even celebrate their 4th birthdays or 5th birthdays. So they feel like they have a limited time of operation, and for them to be able to break even and realize their business goals. So today, basing on the revelation we had from the Ministry of Finance, looking at these stimulus packages that have been readily availed by government, for example, like that one of COVID-19 where about 100 billion was put there, it was revealed that less than 50% has been actually utilized by these SMEs. And we want to know, what could be the challenge?
Well, first, we must understand that the procedure government is using to avail this money clearly shows that they don't understand how these businesses operate. I'll give an example. In media, or if you're invited, say, Philo, they say, well, you're a TV presenter, maybe your school where you came from, they invite you to have a chat with these students to motivate them. You must have a message tailor-made for what these children are going through, these students are going through. You must first of all put yourself there and understand them properly. So that the message you speak is not for Felix Nkunda, but for a senior 5 student, a senior 3 student, who you want to tell how to go through school despite the various temptations that come her way. So, when government came up with these stimulus packages, which is a very good and well thought thing, that these small businesses, after COVID hit us, they had shocks. Carpenters had weak problems. A person was operating, running a restaurant. They were closed for some time. Now we opened them. Maybe someone had a small bar. Small businesses, SMEs. Now, when you simply say, we've put money in Uganda Development Bank, about 100 billion. So SMEs go and get this money because it has very low interest rate and also the period for you to pay back. So it's advantageous. When you look at it on paper, this is the best. Yes. Because you're like, we've thought about this group, we've given them money that is ring-fenced, not for big businesses, but for this particular group of people. So they will automatically go. If they need money, the money is there. And the money, the interest rate is very little. And the period to pay back is automatically. But you forget, what is the nature of these businesses? How do they operate? How do they do business? Where are they located? Now what happens? The money is there and these are not taking the money.
Yes.
That is what Ramadan Gobi is talking about. That even when we put money, these are not coming. Why aren't they coming? Because one, you didn't understand or factor in that how do we give money to this person who may not even have a bank account?
Yes.
Who may not even have a special place of abode. A man is welding today. He came to Brother Ratoro and found space along the road and said, man, I went to a technical institution, I have some money, I've bought this gas welding equipment, just give me this space, it is next to the road. If I put my gate, my window display, people will start buying. A person who will come and say, if I put a makeshift here, I cook food because it is a busy place, a person will come at Mama Naka and start eating food. Mama Naka herself is the business. She gets the money they have cooked from the food, keeps somewhere in a pot or under the bed or whatever. Then in the afternoon, looks at profit, she's the business. So when you tell such a person to get, for her to access that money, to be the same as Nkunda and Company Advocates, or Kirabo and the Sons, whatever, at Nakasero, you know, then there is a challenge. These, according to government, are not credible. You can't give them money because you can't recover that money. So when they went to these financial facilities, it was very clear for these facilities. They told them, for us to give you a loan, this is what we need. Is your business registered with, is it URSB? Definitely Mama Naka will tell you, how is my kiosk, my car restaurant registered? This welder will tell you, no, I don't even, people just know Womo, but I don't even have a name. Bring your account. Let's look at how your books have been moving, because this is government money, for us to know that when we give you the money, you're going to pay back the money. I had a chat some time back, actually I hosted him, that is Issa Sechito, spokesperson of Kampala Capital City Traders, now Kasita, Uganda. And he said, the group they were targeting does not qualify. A big number of them do not qualify under the requirements to get this money. And Ngobi yesterday said, we are even planning to have commercial loans for farmers. But he mentioned again the same problem. For those that are credible, that you can give money. Now, I don't know how many farmers will have proper books of accounts. Someone can be a commercial farmer. I could be having my acres of pineapples. You get it?
Yes.
And all I need is some money to buy a tukutuku. You know this tukutuku? A tricycle.
Yes, the tricycle.
So that I can, the challenge I've been having is market to take my pineapples to about 3-4 miles away. And if I can get a loan and pay over a time, slowly by slowly, I'll have eased transportation of my goods. But I don't have a bank account. I'm not registered anywhere. Yes. But I'm running my business. It is growing day by day. Now, if you want to... Why do you need money? Oh, no, business, I need a loan. What a loan? Yeah, a business could be getting a loan does not mean that your business is stagnated.
That money was not for growing businesses.
It was for businesses that were challenging. Businesses that were already
saying, but for the commercial farmer.
The growing businesses.
People who get loans, no. People who get loans don't get loans because their business has stagnated. I may be running something, and I'm like, if I got, like the example I've given, if I got a tricycle, not that my business has stagnated. No, but that would help me if I got it now to make more money. What I have now is not bulky enough for me to purchase that. Now, that was the mistake, that the people who put this money did not understand properly the group they wanted to target and how best. That is why Kasita later came out and said, if government had gone in a public-private partnership with Kasita, they have associations. They know their members very well. And as traders, they know ways of recouping or getting this money back. And say, government, have your technical staff, let's also work together and see if you have 100 billion there. Philo knows that you did in hardware, for example, knows your location. We know if we give you this amount of money, what are you producing as security? If you fail, we know what you are going to grab and sell and bring back. These businesses, these SMEs didn't go for money in government, but you find they went to money lenders. Some, that is where they fell from. Others were able to thrive through that. So government must understand that what we put for people to access this money, do they have the requirements? If they don't have the requirements, they don't meet these standards. We should not just say government money because it is government money. Now we must have these criteria. If you don't meet these criteria, then why did you put the money if it's not serving the purpose?
Well, while we are still talking about it, there is also an issue of disbursement of these monies. I will tell you, a Bank of Uganda the other day also revealed that several financial institutions came out to say that there is less money being given out to small, medium enterprises and small businesses, generally because they don't qualify. Now, they were looking at specifically the Small Business Recovery Fund that was launched back in July 2021. And there was 200 billion Uganda shillings that was meant to be given to all these small businesses. And there are certain criteria, of course, you have to meet. For example, you had to show that your business as a small, medium enterprise person or man or woman, your business was thriving before COVID-19. And when COVID-19 came through, it did really play a number on your business. It frustrated you. And now you actually require money to put back the business, up there. So that is one of the few criteria that you have to follow. But some of these financial institutions did say the people who come here, definitely they are looking for like startup capital, and we cannot give them that money because this money specifically is coming in from government, so it wouldn't be doing what it's supposed to do. But here's one thing, the people from the private sector have a lot to say. They are actually saying the criteria that is being used by government to disburse this money through all these banks is not right, because the banks definitely are also coming in to sell their own products that have quite a high interest rate, and they're not talking about the fund. So could this be the reason, or could this be a challenge to the type or method of disbursement of these funds by government to the small medium enterprise people?
I think briefly, one, you talked about of the word qualify. Now, if you say these are the qualifications, and you know that majority of the people you want to help do not qualify. Actually, majority of the traders who went to these banks, when they told them, produce evidence that your business has been running. A bank, you don't come with the pictures. Gaga Masaga clients. They wanted books of accounts. They wanted, I remember with one of my friends, how we were bounced. Because what they were asking for, they said, now, proof of a business, government cannot give a business money that has not been paying tax, a business that has not been registered, but with URSB, something like a business. They had a lot of criteria. Now, this business of ours was not anywhere in that group. So then the alternative was, okay, can we get startup capital if it is there? So you must, if you're saying you're helping orphans, to go to school, then don't come and tell us, produce evidence of a parent, because the parent is not there.
Well, I'm going to bounce this question to you, Felix. Do you feel like this is a satisfactory way of giving out money to the people that actually need it, especially when we're talking about small, medium enterprises? And we really know the nature of the SMEs we have here in Uganda. Their mode of operation for most of them, is it really in sync with the way government decides to give them the money that they actually need to do whatever they have to do?
Well, I think for starters, we must be able to address the intention of the fund, and that's necessarily by far. We must exploit the intention of that fund. Secondly, for you to understand why it is still a pejorative challenge lately, is whether or not the intention was well thought, was good-hearted, and was supposed to be executable. I think you've heard very many at times the people talk about visions. Now, ideally, under management as scholars, visions sometimes are not necessarily achievable, but they help us set the bar high. Just like the saying is, if you want to fall in the stars, you shoot to the moon. Now, when I was listening to the PS, that is Ndogo Ramadan, and his assertions about how people are not, and same thing Robert has been saying, the intention should have catered for that. I can tell you that you can't create a fund minus having statistics or research of the would-be beneficiaries unless you actually didn't have the intention. Secondly, it is not a must, and by the way, actually before I say that, let me say this. It is a matter of fact that the SME world is by far covered up by the informal sector. It's a reality. Now, if you are intentional about that, how then don't you know that we cannot use the other approach, the smart approach, the corporate approach, to cure an informal problem? I don't know if it comes out, because you've understood. Now, when you send someone an incorporation certificate, a registration certificate, books of returns, there are two types of businesses in this country. And I can, they have public and private. Under public institutions, these companies keep records. They are formed, they are have membership, they have a director, they have board of government, you know. But when you go to private businesses, what I was saying.
No one has the time really to
retail
start
business.
Yes.
It's a family thing.
You want me to have a board of...
We sell from in front. Like, you cannot separate the business from the individuals. Sukari wekumacha agena musene kuli museneko obijiko bisatu. Buto bya mukidomola. Obunzali omunyo kebera senano wali ejiko. Like, you can't diffuse the business from the individuals. When you come, for example, are rearing chicken, can they go hungry? As
they don't finish the capital.
That's of course. So you cannot detach the business from the individuals. Now, the approach of such businesses, if you're intentional about helping them survive, and we're talking about survival, because it's a post-COVID remedy, that some of the businesses that we're thinking, go to hotels, these small hotels, the lodges. Someone sleeps in the lodge, you can't refuse. Now, such people do not keep books of records. It is not even a characteristic of that type of business. So it's not expected.
It's not registered.
Now, for you, what you want to do, you want to use your money as a catchment for who's not paying taxes. Because you're saying you're not giving money to someone who doesn't have, who has not been filing returns. That means you've already pushed out over 70% of SMEs. You ready? Again, how intentional was this fund? Okay? Keeping in mind the biggest composer of this class. Now, we must agree together, people in the business area, and form a particular, this group, give it validity. We should accept to help this group the way it is, because when you try to change its form, it loses its position. There's no way you're going to tell a retail shop holder, a hotel, mama, whatever you're talking, to keep books of records. The only thing she understands is that in the morning I need 100,000. In the evening I expect 250.
And they will get it, by the way.
Now, yes, that is the only book of records she can keep. Kinakera karerwe, kotaye toke, rumonde, muhogo, mchere, nkoko. When I use 100, I get 150. Then I have to remain with my 80 on a day. That is the... Now, that she cannot contextualize, and this is the dismay. You are asking so much from where you didn't put anything. How many times does the Minister of Finance, if it's intentional, and the URA assist in sensitizing these people?
It is now a private sector foundation that is doing some work into that direction to ensure they formalize these businesses.
How easy is it to file returns? Robert, you have all of us here should have filed returns. Have you ever? I can tell you I've filed returns, but that's one of the ugliest part of my work. But I'm a taxation practitioner. Even the ones who file, how true? There's sort of falsification. The lies. So
you cannot entirely.
And do you know why? Do you know why there's a lot of deception around all these things? It's because there is not enough input in terms of sensitization and support. Now, unless you're telling us that this money that you have put there, you did not intend to have these people utilize it, because you did not make it. It must be available. It must be accessible. And under those two words, there is a lot that comes with availability, accessibility. There's something called, we were doing East African practice law, there's something used to call technical, there's just technical fouls. Have you had people who tell you, like your parents say, but no, jagenda kusomero nenga kasoma malo okoze ebintu n'okusimula ennyumba. Bro, like at what time? You know that you have to be in school by 8, but the person is telling you that at 7:30.
Technically, you've been
like, yeah, our auntie used to do that at our grannies. That okuva wano bintu lujja and definitely you like technically now you same thing when you say this will not come for they cannot come. The requirements are not part of their everyday. Understand your clientele. As a Minister of Finance, you fail to understand the people you want to help. Like you said, you want to send an orphan to school, then the requirement is
bring a parent.
Mother's signature. It's the same thing. The requirements must be tailor-made to the kind of operation and how the operation methods of these businesses. And that's why the SME sector is struggling.
Very much so.
That's why, now, with the abuse of this availability and accessibility, you're giving an opportunity to other money institutions.
That's why they run to these fund money lenders.
Yes. Now, that's why you see the rising of these money lenders, microfinance, are because the government institutions have neglected.
And they know that they have already market of
and
people who want,
the
desperate, who want those monies to be given to them. They know this startup.
Let me tell you the saddest bit, that the money lenders, the microfinances, for them they go to the Uganda development banks and they get that money.
Then they come.
You get the point?
Yes.
Now, for them they organize themselves and they get
the money,
or even they have connections. Now, when they get the money, they come and abuse the would-be intended direct beneficiaries.
Actually,
that is what they don't want to say. These people in these offices.
The Kasita people were even questioning who are those people that got this money
and how
did they
acquire the money. Yes,
because I remember Isasito said that if you are to list people who got this money, actually they don't fall within this bracket. And
I know some,
because us who fall in the bracket, we were not able to get this money. The challenge is, how do we, like I talked about private sector foundation. Now what private sector foundation is trying to do is to bring these SMEs into formalizing their businesses by giving them right information, first and foremost, assistance where they can, so that they don't only, because it's not pressure that we talk about many people being, many businesses as SMEs.
Yes.
They should be able to grow. We should see a person who began with a mama naka kiosk in ramshackle things, go now renting a building, go to a business must grow. So private sector foundation wants to see these businesses grow. But as it does that, it wants to help them formalize their businesses. Now, when they formalize their businesses, that is when they can access good loans, the loans government is talking about. But as of now, the way the SMEs are, go to places like Katwe. Felix knows these places. And I don't know how more you move downtown there. Go to Chisenyi here. You know, which other place?
Actually
You're
running
going to find
their
so
small
many
businesses and they're thriving.
And they're thriving. They're educating their children. But those people will tell you, Chechuma change chafudde, netaga obukadde bubiri. Now, no bank can give me, I mean, a rented premise, my business and all that, but there is a nkunda somewhere who will say, how much is your machine? 20 million. How much is money to repair it? 2 million. Write for me here that you've sold this machine to me. When you return my money in this particular time, what I'm going to do, we cancel the sales agreement. Now, when I go to Nkunda, because psychologically and reasonably, I'm sure I'm going to get this money, they work on this machine. Now, they work on that machine, Nkunda goes into hiding. Phones switched off. I can't locate Nkunda. 3-4 days, Nkunda comes and says, well, this is the deal. If you want, we go to court, this, that. Then he comes and picks my machine, goes and sells it at 20 million. I took 2 million from Nkunda. He has sold 20 million. Am I still in business? No. So, if we have these packages and we've not deliberately helped the informal sector, the SMEs, to formalize their businesses, then these packages may be next. I don't want to say useless, but that is what they may be. We must understand. That's why Kasita says government pattern with us. We understand this group better. Sometimes
so can we actually say that the funds that should be leveraged by these businesses are available,
yes,
but the way, the accessibility to these funds by
being technical, being an expert in finance and what, doesn't mean you're an expert in business. No wonder many of these, sorry to say this, may not even do business, may not have any business running, apart from salaries they earn in their professional arena.
But those ones,
you may not know.
They're in the wrong place.
You may not know how these businesses are operating. They have bodies. These bodies are craving out. Kasita is crying out loud that whenever you're coming up with a package for these people, work with us. Let's see how best can we address them. But when you say we are going to have commercial loans for farmers, some of the technicals know how to this, that. You've even never reared a rabbit. You know? You don't know how. One time I remember I was among farmers who made the top leadership of this country some years back under the Uganda Farmers Federation. Now that time, banks had increased. You remember when he had it was a credit crunch? What was that thing?
The credit crunch.
Yeah, credit crunch.
Yes.
Right. Now, globally there was a problem. Farmers, we had acquired loans from government. And we reached a time, because of the interest rate they wanted, one farmer stood up and said, Your Excellency, I was sure I'm going to, if every day I'm selling 20 trays of eggs, I'll be able to service my loan. Today I'm required to sell 40 trays. Am I going to tell these chicks, lay more eggs? Because when I got the loan, the interest had gone high. Why? Because the people who had come up with these loans were not understanding the group. For me, I feel government, our technical people do so much. This is why even you have wrangles in markets, wrangles in where, because technical people become goddesses. They think they understand so much and reject inclusion of people in this sector that understands. Give this money to Kasita. Give this money to these institutions, private sector foundation. Tell them, this is the money available. You stand, surety or whatever, you want it to go to the members and they use this money. I want to tell you, they will know how to trace Felix. They will know how to trace Mama Naka. They will know how to force Mama Naka get this money because they are themselves doing the same. That's why I see sometimes these circles are working out. Because we are doing the same job, we know how to trace each other. We know what surety you can give us or collateral that you can give us, and business goes on. But telling us go to Uganda Development Bank, money is there. Go to here, money is there. I'm a poor man, I don't even have a land. I come.
Well, as we are coming close to the end of this discussion, there is quite some feedback here. And there is a viewer here who's saying the problem is the environment in which these operate. For example, before the business makes the first month, it's already paying a tax to government, local government, etc., etc. And most small and medium enterprises in Uganda don't have qualifications to access government funds, and those which have also are taken through a lot to access it. Hence, 95 to 98% cannot access it. So they're also talking about the procrastination process in giving out some of these funds to these SMEs. There is also one viewer here talking about the whole program seems not to have been well researched, resourced in terms of competent human resources, poor methodology, etc., etc. So clearly you can see that some of these are major constraints, both on the supply side but also on the demand side. But we also cannot fail to actually talk about how there is low awareness of these this fund. Very low awareness levels. Very many business people, very many people who fully active in this small medium enterprise setting, they actually don't know about these funds. They don't even know where to access some of these funds. I understand there are about 22 financial institutions that are on this Bank of Uganda recovery fund, but very many people don't know which institution should I go to if I want to tap into this fund that was readily made available by government? So clearly there is still some more awareness. If we want to see a higher and bigger uptake of these funds, clearly there needs to be more awareness to the target audience. Otherwise, people are going to still keep running to other different sources of money lenders and whatnot, without having to consider the option of going to this fund if they have all the qualifications. So there is still some time, and there is still a lot of effort that needs to be pushed into that that direction to ensure that the money is fully put to use. Well, thank you so much for the contributions. They're still coming in, but in the interest of time, we have to go. But Ruben Mpima Chibidango is coming in with sports updates. And of course, later on, you'll be having Kirabo here on Good Morning Uganda Extra. Have a wonderful morning and a very productive day. My name is Philomena Mastiko. Good morning.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president.
This is our family's pride.
This is my friend.
This is the future of our nation.
She is the future of Uganda, and the policies I enact today will protect her from teenage pregnancy.
She is the hope of our community, and I will talk to others about how we must protect her.
She is our family's pride, and I will protect her from child marriage and talk to her about the dangers of teenage pregnancy. We each have a role to play in